If you enjoy the content on this channel, please like and subscribe. Our Flag Means Death is an American period romantic comedy television series created by David Jenkins. Set in the early 18th century during the Golden Age of Piracy, the series follows the misadventures of the gentleman-turned-pirate Stede Bonnet, played by Rhys Darby, and his crew aboard the Revenge as they try to make a name for themselves as pirates and cross paths with famed pirate Blackbeard, played by Taika Waititi. The first season premiered on March 3, 2022 on HBO Max and received positive reviews, including praise for its LGBTQ+ representation. In June 2022, the series was renewed for a second season, which premiered on Max on October 5, 2023. The series is loosely based on the lives of Stede Bonnet, also known as the Gentleman Pirate. Set in 1717, the first season depicts the early days of Bonnet's career as a pirate after abandoning his family and his comfortable life as a member of the landed gentry of Barbados. Bonnet is portrayed as having little or no aptitude for this role, with no experience beyond that of his privileged life. Aboard their ship, the Revenge, the newly minted Captain Bonnet and his dysfunctional crew struggled to survive against deadly threats both from naval warships and other bloodthirsty pirates. During their misadventures, the crew of the Revenge crossed paths with notorious Captain Edward Teach and his crew, including first mate Izzy Hands. Comedy and chaos ensue as Teach and Bonnet fall in love. The creator and showrunner, David Jenkins, was inspired to write the show after learning about Stede Bonnet from his wife and subsequently reading his Wikipedia article. It was particularly interesting in filling in the blanks of Bonnet's life, trying to find motivations after abandoning his family, as well as understanding why Blackbeard took him under his wing. From the outset, he envisioned the show as centering on a romantic relationship between Bonnet and Blackbeard, and pitched it as such. Taika Waititi, who shares a manager with Jenkins, became involved after Jenkins told him the story of Stede Bonnet and asked if he wanted to be involved. Waititi was attracted to the project because of what he believed to be Jenkins' original approach to pirates. In subsequent discussions, they agreed that a romance between Bonnet and Teach was the reason to do the show. Casting an actor to play Stede Bonnet began shortly after the series was ordered. While Rhys Darby's name was mentioned early in the process, it was not until after an unsuccessful round of auditions that most of the script had been written that he was again brought into consideration. His casting was officially announced in January 2021. Jenkins stated that Darby made an otherwise unlikable Stede Bonnet likable, telling Slash Film that he was the only person who could play it. Darby, whose career had consisted primarily of supporting comedic roles, saw the role as an opportunity to branch out and play a lead in a more dramatic role, telling Deadline, "I looked at myself, how much experience I've had over the years, and I felt maybe it's time to step up." Taika Waititi, who was already attached as an executive producer and director, joined the cast to play Blackbeard 4 months later in April 2021. Jenkins had begun writing the role with Waititi in mind and eventually approached him over text asking if he'd be interested in playing the actual role of Blackbeard. In the official casting announcement, Jenkins said, "Waititi, our Blackbeard is a legend, a lover, a fighter, a tactical genius, a poetic soul, and quite possibly insane. There's only one man who could play this role, and that is the great Taika Waititi himself. We're thrilled beyond measure he's decided to don the beard." The series debuted to popular acclaim and ranks among the top 5 most watched Max original comedy series launches. Our Flag Means Death was the 5th most in-demand series on HBO Max and the 2nd most in-demand series among young adult viewers in 2022. The show is considered to be an organic word-of-mouth marketing success due to its active online fandom that continues to drive viewership and demand. The series has been called a sleeper hit due to its surprising growth in popularity despite receiving very little promotion or marketing. Its growing rise in popularity has been compared to that of Ted Lasso's. Just a little bit of history on the real Stede Bonnet. Stede Bonnet was born in 1688 and died in 1718. He was a Barbadian-born pirate and military officer known as the Gentleman Pirate, for the reason he was a moderately wealthy landowner before turning into the life of crime. Bonnet was born into a wealthy English family on the island of Barbados and inherited the family estate after his father's death in 1694. Despite his lack of sailing experience, Bonnet decided he should turn to piracy in the spring of 1717. He bought a sailing vessel, the Revenge, and travelled with his paid crew along the eastern seaboard of what is now the United States, capturing other vessels and burning Barbadian ships. Bonnet would set sail for Nassau in Bahamas, to the haven for pirates known as the Republic of Pirates, but he was seriously wounded en route during an encounter with a Spanish warship. After arriving in Nassau, Bonnet met the infamous pirate Blackbeard. Incapable of leading his own crew, Bonnet temporarily ceded ship's command to Blackbeard before separating in December 1717. Blackbeard and Bonnet plundered and captured merchant ships along the east coast. After Bonnet failed to capture the Protestant Caesar, his crew abandoned him to join Blackbeard upon the Queen Anne's Revenge. Bonnet stayed on Blackbeard's ship as a guest and did not command a crew again until the summer of 1718, when he was pardoned by the North Carolinian governor Charles Eden and received clearance to undertake privateering against Spanish shipping interests. Bonnet was tempted to resume his piracy, but did not want to lose his pardon, so he adopted the alias Captain Thomas and changed his ship's name to the Royal James, but he had returned to piracy by July. In August, Bonnet anchored Royal James on the estuary of the Cape Fear River to careen and repair the ship. In late August and September, Colonel William Rhett, with authorization of South Carolina's Governor Robert Johnson, led a naval expedition against pirates on the river. Rhett and Bonnet's men engaged in combat for hours, but the outnumbered pirates ultimately surrendered. Rhett arrested the pirates and brought them to Charlestown, now Charleston, South Carolina, in early October. Bonnet escaped on 24th of October, but was soon recaptured on Sullivan's Island. On the 10th of November, Bonnet was brought to trial and charged with 2 acts of piracy. Judge Nicholas Trott sentenced him to death. Bonnet wrote to Johnson and asked for clemency, but Johnson endorsed the judge's decision, and Bonnet was hanged in Charlestown on the 10th of December. Now a bit about the real Blackbeard. Edward Teach was born in 1680 and died in 1718. Better known as Blackbeard, he was an English pirate who operated around the West Indies and the eastern coast of Britain's North American colonies. Teach was a shrewd and calculating leader who spurned the use of violence, relying instead on his fearsome image to elicit the response that he desired from those whom he robbed. He was romanticized after his death and became the inspiration for the archetypical pirate in works of fiction across many genres. Another pirate in the show, based on the real pirate, is Israel Hands, or Izzy Hands, also known as Basilica Hands. He was an 18th century pirate, best known for being second in command to Edward Teach. His name serves as the basis for the name of the villain and sidekick in Robert Louis Stevenson's 1883 novel, Treasure Island. Now, I came across the show watching a YouTube video by the chance. I liked the premise, and of course I'm a huge fan of Taika Waititi, so when I saw he was involved, I knew this is something I had to see. And I can say, very reassuredly, I wasn't disappointed at all. This show is hilarious. It's fantastically written, beautifully acted, and so completely original, even though it's playing off the old and true swashbuckling pirate stories. The show is completely original in the way it brings forth the story. Here it takes real-life people, Stede Bonnet, and of course the infamous Edward Teach, better known as Blackbeard, and almost recreates them, retells their stories in a modern and fascinating way. Some might view the portrayal of these characters as sort of controversial, but I just loved it. And the series has garnered rightful praise for its substantial LGBTQ+ representation, which consists of 3 queer relationships, one of which involves a non-binary character, Jim Jimenez. But the central romance of the show between Bonnet and Teach, which was initially stated as a friendship, is really sort of the heart and soul of the show. And the 2 lead actors here, in Rhys Darby and Taika Waititi, bring these characters to life absolutely beautifully. I also love that the series doesn't shy away from addressing racism and colonialism. The whole show, of course, is done in a tongue-in-cheek sort of style. The characters are eccentric, out there, but yet so likeable, enduring, and win you over with each and every episode. I absolutely adored Season 1, and then of course I was blown away by Season 2, as the show just kept delivering every episode. There's some very heavy moments within the show too. It's not always just a comedy show, and there's even some sort of sad moments as well. But the show never really lingers on the sentimentality aspects, and rather the show is about having fun. It's wacky, it's over the top, but it's groundbreaking in the same breath. And what more can I say about the star-making performance here? From Con O'Neill as Izzy Hands, Blackbeard's ruthless first mate. He is one of the standouts within the show. But then again, the whole cast are absolutely fantastic, and there's too many to mention. From its beautiful writing, excellent acting performances from all of the cast, including all of the wonderful cameos. This is a show I'd highly recommend to anyone. It's short, sharp, and to the point, and really does give you so much enjoyment. Our Flag Means Death, Season 1 and 2, get a 9.5 out of 10.